All right, building a team. So this part has been probably my biggest challenge through the years. It's only up until recently, as in the last 12 months, that I've really managed to get the team side of things dialed in and gelled. When I first started doing this, I ran solo for the first year. So it was just me and, full stack media buyer, full stack affiliate where, I did everything from writing the copy to creating the videos and images to building the landing pages to installing the pixels to setting the tracker up and then, launching the campaigns. I did everything. And I think it's important that everyone who is going to be starting or scaling an affiliate business understands every aspect of the business, right? Because then you have, realistic expectations of how long things are going to take, to what quality they need to be. And also there might be a time when you actually need to jump in and write some copy, or you need to jump in and get a landing page done, or you might need to record SOPs for your team to be trained on, right? So I think it's pretty much essential that you do understand and know how to do every aspect of this business. But to realistically scale a business and at least enjoy life, it's unrealistic, right? For you to be doing every aspect of that business, which is why the team is so important. So it's crazy when I think back to my first year, and I think I did like $1.6 million in that first year, and that was completely on my own. There was no team, there was no VA, there was no, or potentially may have used a VA on a more of like a part-time as and when needed basis. But for the most part, it was just me. And then, started to scale in the second year and started to then build a team of VAs and then, hire copywriters and branch out. So we'll go through that and I'll explain the key hires that I think are essential for the business and how even, to scale to 8 figures, you really don't need a big team. You only need a few key hires. And that's what we're going to go through. So let's have a look. And again, I want to point out that this is, again, all of my own personal experience, my personal opinion and preference. There's probably 1,000,001 ways that are better to build a team and to look for key hires. And as there is in pretty much every video that I've done, I'm not saying that this is the best way or the only way. I'm just saying it's my way. And you're more than welcome to use it and to take value from it. And I hope you do get value from it. But let's take a look. So my first hire was a VA, okay? Virtual assistant. And I hired off Online Jobs. It's probably my go-to for VAs. And you can also find great creative people. You can also find project managers there as well. You can find everyone there, to be fair. Everyone that we're going to look at, all the roles that we're going to look at hiring, can all be found on Online Jobs. However, I think specialist-wise, VAs and creative are probably going to be the most likely to find on Online Jobs. I would also say media buyers, but you're going to need to train them. We've actually had a couple of really good media buyers that have come with no experience of scaling or high budgets, but have come with, again, like, all of our hires from Online Jobs in the Philippines have come with just this incredible loyalty and work ethic and just the ability to learn so quick, right? And as long as they know the basics of the ads manager and Facebook ads, you can teach the rest. And we'll go through it. I don't want to go through. I want to go through in order. Otherwise, I'm going to get all higgledy-piggledy. But we'll come back to that. I'll hold that thought for a second. All right. So let's start at the top. So I am going to get a swig of water. So the operations manager. So let me just grab this. Okay, so operations manager / project manager does what it says on the tin. This has been the key reason as to why I've been able to get the team to gel in the last 12 months. I have tried to find project managers, operations managers before, but I've never, I just don't think I ever really found the right one up until the last 12 months. And now I've got Steve. He's from the UK, and he's just a legend and has helped bring everything together. He's got experience in, internet marketing in general. He knows, bits about everything. Okay. So, which is perfect. Okay. And he's just got a great ability to be able to follow up with people, spend time with people, make sure everyone's meeting deadlines, make sure everyone's checking in, and make sure everyone's communicating, and then also communicating back to me. So this is the one big hire that, if you're struggling to get the team to gel, because what I think I was doing when I first started to build a team was I was being the operations manager, and my communication and operations management and project management is pretty poor. So again, down to me and my fault for not being able to get the team to gel. Once I started outsourcing it and found the right OM or PM, that is when things started to kick in. So their role is to run a day-to-day operations. So basically this is to oversee everything, okay? Manage and oversee all the projects. So you might be using ClickUp or Asana or Trello, task management, whatever. You can liaise with your project manager and say, okay, this week I want to launch and test 2 new offers. I want to scale the one offer that we're running over there. I want to, bring in, 10 new ads to test here, and whatever it is, right? Your project manager will then be able to put that into your task management list, okay? And then basically manage those tasks and make sure they're being delegated to the right people. You can't even understand how much time this saves and takes off your plate when this is happening in the background and you don't even have to think about it. It's insane. And obviously I know anyone that's coming from business will understand, how much of a time saver and stress saver this is. So yeah, basically their role is to basically manage the business and help you, scale the business and free up your time so you can spend it better on the important things, which could be networking and building relationships with vendors and networks that you can then, get higher payouts or whatever it is, right? Or starting new ventures or whatever the case may be. Okay, maybe you don't want to work that much and you just want to run, oversee or just run a couple of campaigns on your own and, let the team handle the bulk. That's what you can do. You can do this with a couple of hours a day. All right, so that's the first, well, not the first hire, but that's the first hire I talk about. That's the most important hire, in my opinion, is having a really good OM or PM that you can trust. And I don't think there's any real difference between operations manager or project manager. But yeah, price-wise, I found $25 to $50 per hour to be the sweet spot. And when you're starting out, you probably don't need a PM for more than 5 to 10 hours a week. You could easily do it with 5 hours a week, an hour a day, 2 hours a day. And as you build up and as you bring in new team members and as you start to scale campaigns and start testing new offers and new niches and different things, that's when you'd probably start to increase the hours. But definitely the most important hire in the game. Online jobs, you definitely be able to find them there. But also might be better off on Upwork or existing network. So for me, Steve came from my existing network. I tried online jobs, several people off online jobs, off Upwork, never been able to make it stick for longer than a few months. And then obviously, yeah, Steve was in my existing network. So I would definitely check that out, existing network. If you know anyone already that you have an existing relationship that could fit that role, that would be really beneficial. Okay, next is virtual assistants. So pretty straightforward. Everyone knows what a virtual assistant is. So the role here for the virtual assistants for us with an affiliate business is to set up and manage your Facebook bulletproof system, which we cover in the next video. Basically, probably the biggest time constraint is setting up the bulletproof system, logging into profiles, sorting out business managers, etc., etc. And social media management, it can be a real time constraint. So this is where a VA at $5-6 an hour is perfect. They also create landing pages. Again, we use templates, and so it's very much clone, copy, switch out some of the wordage and switch out the image. There's nothing crazy. We're not having them design a beautiful, stunning landing page or web page. It's very much, copy paste. It's already cloned. So there's no real crazy amount of skill going into this. There's no real design or creative spark that's needed here. It's just follow simple instructions. Setting up tracking campaigns, again, inside the tracker. Again, self-explanatory. Setting up the campaigns. Anything that's like a time constraint that can be easily outsourced for a few dollars. This is the tasks that you want to be giving to your virtual assistant. And obviously they're reporting back to the OM or PM. Okay. Price-wise, $5 to $10 an hour is where you're going to sit here. Online Jobs has been the best place I've ever used for VAs. We have started to notice that with obviously ChatGPT, we're getting a lot of copy-paste applications when we're hiring VAs, media buyers, etc. I think that's going to be probably the same across most job boards or marketplaces. But yeah, it's something that we picked up on recently is the amount of copy-paste applications coming into to our job applications. So again, you're going to have to sift through. You could get hundreds of applicants for a VA post on Online Jobs, which is why I'm going to share with you something I think later down here, which we'll go through, which can help alleviate that. All right, and again, realistically, it's going to be your OM or PM that's going to be handling the hiring process. So it's something that you don't really have to stress about, but we can definitely streamline it and make it a little bit more smooth. Okay, creative designer, again, pretty self-explanatory. We probably pay $50 to $100 per video, a video being anywhere from 60 to 120 seconds usually. And obviously their role here is to create eye-catching ad creative, really good with AI voiceovers, to really, sync those up and have them sound human and, make sure there's emotion in the voice and it's not just flat and monotone. We want to have like a real voice or as close to real as possible. Capture and trigger emotion and action within their creative. So this is something that's super important, and obviously report back to the OM or PM. Again, these guys can be found all over Online Jobs. We've had some superb creative designers from Online Jobs. Upwork as well, you can find them. But yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. You're going to be able to find, I think there's even Facebook groups specifically for creative designers. And you'd be able to find creative designers on job boards on Facebook as well. Nothing Held Back. I think I've seen a few creative designers on the Nothing Held Back job board. So, good place to look as well. But yeah, creative designers. So our creative designer, or our main one, can easily knock out, there's a small team, but they can easily knock out 50 to 60 creatives a week, I would say, videos, and potentially even more, depending on the differentiating factors. If it's we're just changing the opening 3 seconds, they can knock out tons. If it's quite a lot of changes, then 50 to 60 creatives a week is probably realistic. So depending on what the variable is in what we're changing in each creative, some we have brand new scripts, some are just a lead, some are the hook, some are visuals, some are text on blank background, some's just a CTA at the end. There's a ton of things that we can have that might be different, that can lead to either shortening or lengthening the time frame in which they're delivered. But yeah, a good creative designer is probably going to be charging you $50 to $100 per video for like a 2-minute video, 1-minute video, whatever it is. Okay, copywriter. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Write compelling ad copy and scripts. Price-wise, $50 to $150 per ad. An ad being, 300 words, let's say. I think that's probably a realistic price point. We have in-house copywriters, and also we use a lot of ChatGPT for ease. Again, going to go through this in the next module, where we look at how, in module 4, I think it is. Module 4, where we look at ChatGPT and the copy and creative. But again, for hiring, copywriters have been best hired. The copywriters that we've got have come from job boards. Nothing Held Back for one, and I want to say Cult of Copy is another job board that we found copywriters. There are now copywriting gurus and courses out there that do find work for the students. So those guys could be good as well. I would not go for online jobs, and I would probably not go for Upwork as well. You might find someone on Upwork, but doubtful. Whereas I think this would be best suited for the Facebook group job boards like Nothing Held Back and Cult of Copy. All right, and then media buyer. So we pay media buyers a flat fee per month, which is usually $1,000, maybe $2,000 if they're quite experienced. And then we'll give a percentage of the profit generated from their campaigns. So that could be, anywhere from 10% starting of profit up to 40% of profit if they're experienced and they're generating a bunch. So we could have set markers. So once a marker's hit, it then unlocks, a new percentage of the profit. So what I found here with media buyers, because this has been probably my toughest hire, is it's hard to find a media buyer that's going to be loyal and stick around unless they're well incentivized, okay? Which has been the issue that I've had. I've not, maybe not paid them or offered as well. And then, they'll get a payday and they'll just want to run ads themselves, or maybe they just want to take 100% instead of, only taking 25, 30%. Maybe they want to take the whole pie. So they'll get a bit of money behind them and then they'll go and run it on their own, which is fine as well. But yeah, this is usually the hardest hire for me. So I have two options. And I usually, or have started to sway towards the second. The first option is to find experienced media buyers. And again, they come in the Facebook ad job boards. The issue with that is, as I said, they're not that loyal. In my experience, what they'll do, or what's happened to me multiple times, is, they'll get their first paycheck, which, I think could be anywhere from 10 to 20K. And then they'll go off and they'll ghost you. Or they'll just decide to leave. Sometimes they'll rip all of your creative. So obviously, you've had your creative team and your copywriter handing them copy and creative throughout the month for their campaign that they've been managing for you. And they'll just take that with them and go and launch it in their own ad accounts with their own money and keep 100%. So that's option one, which is worked out that way several times for me, which is always a kick in the nuts, but there's not much we can do about it. The second option, which is one that I've started doing more and more now, is hiring media buyers from online jobs. So Filipinos, again, like I've never had a bad Filipino hire. I just haven't. They've always been very pleasant, always been fluent in English, always been extremely hardworking and dedicated and loyal. So now what we're tending to do is find people who have knowledge of Facebook ads and have ran Facebook ads, but not to the level that we run at. Okay, because what that allows us to do is we don't have to teach the basics of, how to set up a custom audience or how to do your targeting or how to, create a pixel or anything like that. They know how to do that. But what we can do is we can mold them in a way that we want them molding, is in we can have them run ads in our specific method and, you know, our testing process, our, you know, test, prove, scale, right? So we can do that, right? So that seems to be working the best. You know, again, we do still pay $1,000 a month, and usually we will introduce a percentage of profit as well, which again, in the Philippines, you know, the wages are nowhere near what they are in the Western world. So that can be an extremely significant amount of money for you know, a media buyer from the Philippines, which is awesome because it's obviously life-changing for those guys as well. So obviously roles for a media buyer: launch, optimize, and scale ad campaigns, constantly coming up with testing ideas. I don't think there's a day or, you know, more than 2 days that go past where we're not testing new things in campaigns that are scaled. Close communication with copywriter and creative to relay what's working and what's worth testing. And again, we have testing sheets and feedback that we can give back to them. And then obviously reporting back to the OM or PM, okay? Okay, so where do we find these team players? Online Jobs, Upwork, Fiverr, and I'm going to put some Facebook groups as well. So NHB Job Board and FB Ad Buyers Job Board, Cult of Copy. I will link to each of these. Also going to link you up with some post templates for posting jobs either in the Facebook groups or in the Online Jobs, VAs, you know, creative design, etc. So you just be fill in the blank. And I will just touch on job post formula because I know a lot of you might want to just get this done yourself. So what I've seen work best in my few years of hiring has been the title, and this is more specific to Upwork and Online Jobs. So, you know, something eye-catching, awesome Photoshop wizard needed immediately. I treat this very much like an ad. So then, you know, leading with the hook or the intro, first few lines of a job post are visible when browsing jobs so they can see the opening sentence or two. Very similar to a Facebook ad where you can see the top couple of lines of the ad. So it's there to hook the viewer in, right? Or the reader in. So, you know, an example would be, and this was just off the top of my head, but if you're a creative whiz and want to earn as much as 2,000 plus every month from creating images you can whip up in your sleep, then this could be the only job post you need. Okay, then we go into about the role, so a breakdown of what the role will include, the responsibilities, etc., etc. And then what I really like is must-haves and nice-to-haves. So I want to, you know, make sure that they know what I want them to, that they need to have, right? There's no negotiables on this. They must be able to read, write, and speak fluent English. They must be available between these hours, and this would suit whichever hours you need them to be available for. And they must have experience with Photoshop or Facebook ads or blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Nice to haves would be obviously advantageous, but not essential. So then, you know, at least 2 years experience creating Facebook ads, access to your own suite of creative tools, available to work weekends if needed, ability to create video creatives. Again, this isn't, you know, a job post that I've done, but this would be something similar to what I'd be looking for, right? And then I end up with a close. And this is where we circle back to what I mentioned before, where we can help sort of streamline this and alleviate some of the time. Because if this was a post for a VA or a media buyer or any type of post on Online Jobs, you can expect to have hundreds of applicants, okay? Which is a massive time suck if you're sorting through every single application. So a way we can really offset this and minimize time is by getting them to jump through a few hoops. So 3 of the things that we can do is we can ask them to send a 30-second selfie video, sharing name and why you think this is a perfect job for you. You could even ask them 3 questions and use it as like a pre-interview. 3 questions they need to answer on this selfie video. Now, obviously this helps in a couple of ways. If they do the selfie video, well, one, that shows that they've, you know, they're serious about this job. You know, they're willing to do that, you know, record a video, send it. 2, you're going to see the face and you're also going to hear them speak, which will then tie into speaking fluent English, okay? And also give you an idea of their character. And then 3, they're going to answer some of the questions that you ask, okay? So then obviously you can sort of tie that in with whatever you want them to answer. And then I always like to have this. So start your application with just a mad word. So Peppa Pig is one that I've always used because my eldest daughter, I think, was 2 at the time when I started doing this, and her favorite show at the time was Peppa Pig. So it's just something that I've stuck with the whole time, is to always start with Peppa Pig. And then, if I don't see Peppa Pig in the opening line or in the title of the application, I know I don't even need to read the rest of it. Okay, I can just delete and move on to the next one. And then a link to your portfolio of creatives or whatever it is, like a Loom video of you walking through a Facebook ad account and explaining right? Whatever it is that's going to help hire or show you that this person is skilled in the role that you're hiring for. So those 3 things, if the word that you're asking them to say in the start of the application to write, if that's not there, boom, deleted. If that's there, but they haven't included a 30-second selfie video, boom, deleted. If both of these are there, but they don't have a link to their portfolio or to something that, that you want to see, boom, deleted. So then what you can find is from like 100 applicants, you can whittle down already to 8, 9, 10 applicants, right? Because those 10 are the serious ones that have read the post. A good thing about this Peppa Pig one, I always sort of embed this probably around either number 4 or 5, but I'll just put it in a block. It would just be in a paragraph of text. It won't be the start of the line. It won't be at the end. It'll be like sort of merged in, so it's sort of hidden almost. So I know if they have written Peppa Pig, that they have actually taken the time to read every word. They haven't just like skimmed over or like just looked down or just gone straight to the bottom. They've actually taken the time to read through. So that's a big one, because that's going to show you if they're paying attention to what you're asking, right? The 30-second selfie video, super important, that one as well. And obviously you could, if you were asking questions, if you say do a 30-second selfie video and answer these 3 questions, maybe give them a bit more time. Maybe it doesn't even need to be 30 seconds. Maybe it could just be a selfie video or 60-second selfie video. Give them a bit of time so they're not tripping over themselves to try and whittle off these questions and not giving themselves enough time. And then obviously link to the thing. But, doing that is really going to reduce the amount of applicants you have to sort through. So then you can have 10 shortlisted that have fit, and ticked off every box. And then you can just have your OM or PM interview those guys and start hiring. And that's a process that's worked for us super, super well. So templates I'll share. I'll link to them in this document. And obviously, the Facebook ad job boards as well. All right, guys, any questions, as always, just drop a comment and let me know.